Hi there, and thank you so much for joining the Paula Fiscal Show. My show airs on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. on Channel 29, SF Commons. I also upload all the shows to YouTube, the Paula Fiscal channel, and the Twitter is Paula Fiscal TV. We have with us today one of our regular guests. You are familiar with him as a musician, as an activist. His name is Francisco Herrera. He ran for mayor. He was the runner-up. And this was all with ranked choice voting. And then this season, he is running for supervisor in District 11. Welcome and join us today, Francisco. You're going to talk to us about the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to hear also about some of the debates that you've gone to.
Yes.
And we can talk a bit about also the new statistics that you have to share with us about Latinos in San Francisco. And this is a general election.
And elections by mail start October 11th.
So October 11th, the elections, you can vote by mail already. Now, in this city, we don't vote electronically, right?
No, but we can go all the way to City Hall, actually, to vote.
That's
and
right.
It opens also in October. But we do vote by mail. And actually, a lot of people, including myself, I find myself doing this a lot, actually voting, getting the ballot by mail, taking time to fill it out, to study it. But there's something I'd like to actually go on voting day on November 8th and actually put it in the booth.
You want to make sure it really counts.
Yes, I think there's a sense of you walking to the place and putting your ballot there that makes me feel like it's more secure than actually put it in the mailbox.
And it's significant. It's a ritual. It's a sign that we take pride in the privilege of voting, but it's actually a right to vote. But many people find it to be a privilege because they can't get off time from work or they don't get to vote. So the vote by mail system is really effective for those people that have 2 or 3 jobs at once. Now, the other day I got a piece of mail from the Department of Elections asking me if I would prefer to read the handbook online.
Oh,
What do you think of that idea?
You know, I want to stay away from all the online stuff because it's like going to Las Vegas, you know. Those machines are so easy to play with. It just opens the door for more corruption than already exists in the electoral process. And so, for me, I think this is such an important issue, more important than the Super Bowl, which is...
The election's going to be held in November.
November 8th, important game of the year. But so important for me that I think elections should either be held on a weekend, like on Sunday, or proclaim Election Tuesday as a day off.
As a day off. That would be a
patriotic day, right?
Yeah.
As
a holiday.
A holiday, a day when you take your time to go and vote and to really celebrate the fact that we have this ability to decide as a community. And that's an important piece to me.
Well, I think that viewing the handbook electronically, but you're not able to vote electronically. You're just going to be able to view the handbook electronically.
Yeah.
I think that brings San Francisco up to date with the technology. And also there are a lot of millennials that may prefer to get their information online or on their phone.
That's true. It could involve more participation because people are moving more and more to the online marketing, online everything, you know. If I have a question, I go to YouTube and I'll get 50,000 videos to my
on how to do something. And how and was there one on how to run for office?
There are several, but the one that I really like that I wanted to talk about today is actually how ranked choice voting actually works. And there, just put there, and actually that's a great, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Go to YouTube, put a search, how does ranked choice voting work? And there's 2 great videos that I liked very much. One was done by a group, but it has that how to rank choice voting works. And the other one actually was done by the mayor of Oakland when she was actually running. And both of those videos are very helpful uh, in terms of really helping us use this tool, right, of instant runoff voting.
The original concept was that it was going to avoid the runoff elections, which are very costly, and also they're very time consuming. And with the ranked choice voting, the whole idea, the concept was that we would have a winner right away.
Correct. But what we've discovered in the process, apart from the fact that you save literally thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a monthly or an election next month, you actually have a power. I have a power. We have a power as voters to be able to think long term and not necessarily the charismatic figure, but rather platform. Okay, what politician is telling me is going to respond to the needs that we have? And which means what platform are they presenting? And something that I can hold them accountable to. Okay, well, this person over here, number one, is saying what I like. Okay, I like it. This other one, I'm going to give number two because they're kind of saying the other. In case my candidate doesn't win, at least I'm pushing for something that's closer to my platform. And if there's a third candidate as well, I like number three, and then 4 and 5.
Well, that's what you did for the mayoral race.
That's correct.
You and Amy and was it Broadcast Stewart?
Yes, that's correct. And together we got over 44% of the vote, which gives you a good sense of the consensus, right? That's right. So right now, the way it's set up is when before ranked choice voting, it was set up so that you could have someone with 30% of the vote that wins, where 70% of the people didn't like that person.
That's
like right now with Mayor at Lee, people are not happy with Mayor at Lee. And as a matter of fact, people are not happy with the supervisors either.
Well, there's a new group of supervisors that were recently elected, which are viewed as the lefties or the progressives. But only in San Francisco would they be viewed like that.
Yeah.
Because in other cities, they'd all be viewed as lefties and progressives.
That's right.
There's no distinction. But let's talk again about your campaign and your platform. How many people are running in your district? Yeah.
So this campaign is very, very important in District 11 because District 11 is a working class neighborhood, still a working class neighborhood. We have spots of working class folks throughout the city, but District 11 has the largest amount of working class folks who actually own their house, folks who've been there for a very long time and who intend to stay for a very long time. But whether you rent or whether you own, we are all in danger. I quoted that number for you from 2011 to now. It's been 130,000 San Franciscans.
And those are San Franciscans that have elected to move for one reason or another. It doesn't say how many people were promoted to a fancy job in New York.
Oh, no,
and they
exactly.
moved out.
Exactly.
Okay, and they had to, and they wanted to move out.
Yeah. No, this is mostly displacement, folks.
Displacement. And then what about our registered Latino voters? I know the last slate card that I did for MAPA, we had 46,000 registered voters. That was in 2005, I believe.
Now it's in the 20s.
It's in the 20s. So we now have only 20,000 registered Latino voters or with surnames, Latino surnames.
And so the thing that's impressive for me about this election, it's not politics we're not in a usual time. We are in a crisis time, Paula. We really are in a time when a famous union busting move, you bring in a whole bunch of new workers who are not organized to kick out the organized, in this case the seniors, in this case the families, the children. And so we as a community really, really have to get together. I like that movie about the penguins. I'm thinking we have to do like the penguins, in this period and really come together and think about who we are going to elect in the sense not of charismatic figures, but in the sense of platforms. How can we really stay here in San Francisco and not just stay, but flourish? What does that mean? For me, it's three things: our housing, prevent and stop the hemorrhaging, stop the displacement, stop the buying out by predatory lenders, predatory investors, speculators, really create a stop. So regulate the market in the sense of controlling it. I like to always use the example, just because you have a car that runs at 150 miles an hour doesn't give you the right to run it at 150 miles an hour through a school zone. That school zone limit, it's called a regulation. It's called a rule. You're not going to run a car through a school zone because it could kill children, family members. And the same thing is happening with the market. This idea that it should just be free and easy, there ain't no free market. The only way you get any sense of a fair market where people participate freely is if everybody participates, not just the millionaires, not just the people who have billions to invest. So we have to control the space so that we can all be participating, not just people with tons of money. And so that affects housing, it affects education, and it affects health. And so those are the three cornerstones. Well, there's one cornerstone, ¿verdad? But the three pillars, if you want to call it, of this campaign, that how do we protect ourselves to be able to flourish and thrive in San Francisco? My daughters cannot find a house to rent or buy.
The housing, right? The rental stock is severely depleted.
Well, but yet, it's not depleted, actually, Paula. It's kidnapped by Airbnb and other institutions that are holding it. For example,
temporary rentals.
Exactly.
Because it's not just Airbnb. But to get
not just Airbnb.
And to get back to the housing market right now, this is September.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time when students are looking for housing once again.
Mm-hmm.
So for a period of 2 months or so, there was a few more housing units available. But now it's in September, and most of the families with kids are back. The kids are back in school.
Yeah.
So who's looking for the units right now?
Well, it's families, because it's tons of people who are having
Even still the families with kids.
Yeah, because they're sharing living rooms. People are living in their cars and sharing showers with a friend, a neighbor who would let them. They're sharing garage space. People are sharing whatever place they can find to stay here because they work here. And so it's literally, folks are literally hanging on, apart from the people who've already been pushed out. So what's happening is we have to find solutions, like using the land trust, like looking at something that I'm looking heavily into is the property tax hike that's happening with folks who've bought in the last 20 some years. Because sure, the folks who are within the Prop 13 thing, well, they're okay, but folks are finding that some fool paid $1.5 million for a house that's really only worth $300,000. The other 1.2 million. So the city's coming at retired people with fixed income, saying, or folks working on a regular job, whose wages are not going up, and saying, oh, well, now your neighbor paid this much, that much, so your house is worth more. That means you owe us $9,000 in property tax. Next year, well, now you owe us $11,000 in property tax.
And you know this because?
Because the neighbors are telling me that, It's I'm on a fixed income. I'm 72 years old. This year I had to pay $9,000. Next year I'm going to pay $11,000. One neighbor told me, he went to the county and said, hey, wait a minute, I'm on a basically a fixed income.
I thought that if you had a lower value on your home, your taxes, your property taxes are comparable. I mean, I look online all the time and I see that a piece of property is worth $47,000 and the land is worth $53,000, and the tax that the people are paying corresponds with that amount of money. So how is it that their value went up unless they had what they're calling remodeling?
Well, no. Let me tell you. Let me answer by giving an example of one of the neighbors that I spoke with. He said, I went and asked over there And he said, look, why am I being charged $9,000 this time? Well, because the same idea I just said, that one sold for this, this one sold. So therefore, your house is now worth $800,000. And he says, yeah, but I'm on a fixed income. So, and the guy actually said, well, what do you want your house to be worth? How can we lower it?
That's the appealing.
Right?
That's how you appeal.
Yeah. And so this kind of, we can actually then say protect homeowners and renters too, because in the end, we're all paying, right? So by addressing this issue of the property taxes, I think that's an important piece.
Well, let's look at that a bit more on the property taxes and how those taxes are raised. But as what I had understood is that it gets raised if there's is an improvement in value. So did these people improve their properties in value?
No.
And are they renting out their back room?
Yeah, no, in this case,
how does that,
well, I'm sure there are, because people are right now renting all kinds of rooms and trying to do whatever they can.
That's what I'm saying, is that the property tax does not get raised unless the value of the property and the value of the land goes up.
Right, that's how
so the reassessments is what you're talking about. So the properties are being reassessed at the beginning of the year. You get the letter saying your property is now assessed at this value, whether you do anything to it or not. But if you do something to it, then they want to assess the amount of money that you put in for your remodeling.
Right. And what I'm trying to do, and it looks like it's possible, because you want to be responsible with what you're proposing, is that we can propose some kind of protection for folks who are on fixed income or who are not making that much.
So you're talking about an exemption?
Yeah, exemption in areas.
And what's the process to get that?
Well, right now I think where I'm involved in the research of really being able to do that, so we can actually make a real proposal and walk into the supervisor role, making real proposals in that way.
And what about the proposal that that Supervisor Aaron Peskin put in regarding the? I believe it's to remove the power of the mayor to appoint so many people to these housing authorities. Is that the right one?
That's correct. Yeah, no, that's a great step, because as we build this house for us, as we build a house for us in the future, we want to move away from the strongman Mussolini model of politics that we have in San Francisco, where the mayor has all the power over the budget, over decision making. So that's a very important move, because we're going to make it gradually, right? And so in this way, the Board of Supes, in other words, the people and the are supposed to be represented by the supervisors, have more of a say as to who goes into these planning commissions. If not, the mayor gets to play chess with all these little pegs, on the board that he wants to move, because he's got all the power. So why is it?
He not only has all the power, but he also has a huge staff, and he has all what they call the plum assignments, the PUC, the Fire Commission, and Police Commission, not so plum anymore because of the
organizing that's happened.
That's right.
Where people are actually getting up.
That's right. But nothing wrong with the Rec and Park and the tickets to all the events.
Yeah, it opens the door for all kinds of favoritism.
It does. And that's the political system here. This is the democracy we're talking about, as to how our government works. Now, our government works just like what I would call a corporation. You bring in your best friends to help you run your action, and you reward them with good paying jobs. Yeah. Well, running for mayor is the same thing.
It's called cronyism.
I don't know how many positions you're going to get once elected to the supervisorial position, but I understand that you have influence over appointments to some of the lesser commissions, like the Youth Commission or some of the other, maybe the Small Business Commission,
and also have some influence over the budget. But this is the kind of thing that we need to grow as supervisors. We need to grow the ability to work. I always wonder, or ask myself and others the question: why should we be living with a system that was created by robber barons for robber barons, right? It's 2016. Come on, right. You guys.
Yeah, we should be able to change some of these
and we are
ways.
With the Peskin proposition. The John Avalos is putting one forth as well that has to do with when someone leaves the poll, for example, if Jane Kim wins, she leaves an opening for the mayor to be able
That's
to appoint
right.
someone, but that person that can no longer
We'd have to talk to
run.
Scott Weiner about that one.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
To see who's going to win that one.
Yeah. So, but these are perfect questions because they go to what house, my fellow San Franciscans, do we want to build? My fellow District 11 folks from Junipero Serra to Crocker Amazon, 280 to Daly City. What neighborhoods do we want to build? What house do we want to build? And to do that, we have to plan on budget together. So my plan really is to have, there's 7 major neighborhoods that make up the District 11, right? We have 12 months in the year. We could easily program at least 2 meetings in each of those neighborhoods per year, where I'm coming out to the neighborhood, we are discussing, and then through the year, have an office in the district where people can come.
I think that's a critical
It is because
issue. There should be a district office, and it should be funded by the city.
It should
should not force the supervisors to have to subsidize that. They should give them up to 500 square feet. They should give them a budget, and then it would have some representation immediately, without people having to traipse to City Hall and learn the system, how to get there, how to wait, how to request an appointment. You have to almost be a registered lobbyist to get next to one of those supervisors.
You do, and I've got 35 years of working with our communities, Paula, and I'll tell you something. Immigrant communities, many in the working class community in general, not only don't have the experience to go to City Hall, but it's a scary experience. We've done many activities where we bring people to City Hall to kind of demystify the whole thing, right?
Yes.
And I never forget
it. It should be a standard field trip for the young kids
That's
in
right.
school.
Yeah. I'll never forget the time with one man where we had an event at City Hall, right? And there we were drinking chocolate, hot chocolate, And he said to me, he was in his 70s, and he said to me, this really is our house after having done this activity there, right? He said, but the fact of the matter, Francisco, is that the only time we ever come here is if someone's in jail or we're having problems with the landlord, or it's always about we are in danger, and so we have to run over here. And most people are very intimidated by this place. He said to me, but after doing this experience and being able to talk to the supervisor, being able to go here, and I've really realized this really is our house. Well, one of the solutions to create this gradual process of getting people familiarized with City Hall is having a district office, right? It could be at Minnie and Lovey Rec Center, or it could be in the Excelsior Business Corridor, which is, for me, a big piece of...
There we go. We should have one of the chambers just help the supervisors do this.
Mm-hmm. So this piece is a very important piece that goes to the second. So housing for me is key, education and health. And small business has a lot to do with education and health. I grew up, I paid for part of my college selling tacos, going store to store, selling burritos. That's when the burritos that I knew were what people call tacos now.
Our food has evolved, as they like to say. It's all a part of evolution.
I sold tacos, I sold buñuelos, I sold used clothes in the flea markets. Everything.
That's one area that I'm familiar with. My dad used to take all 9 of us children to the flea market to learn how to haggle.
Right, there you go, exactly.
To learn how to haggle.
The business
that was very memorable. But,
so I feel very closely with the ambulatory folks. But health for me is such a key piece, not just in this area of small business, but and not just in the area of clinics and hospitals, which is very important, as well as medicine. But I'm talking about health in 3 different areas. The area of being able to be free from the anxiety. We already talked about that they're going to sell my house, and where am I going to live? Free from the anxiety of muni cost or education cost, free from the anxiety of just the stress of life. I was talking yesterday with an EMT, emergency medical technician,
Right.
and he's and I said, well, what about with you guys with mental health? He says, yeah. He said we have the highest rate of suicide, and I say, I know
Higher
you
than
do.
dentists?
Higher than dentists.
The
And
EMTs? We'll have to check on
and
that
so
one.
no, and in general, first respondents,
Yeah.
firefighters, EMTs, police, 911 workers. I asked one
Right.
911 worker, a friend, he's saying, I'm working 19 calls per hour. I said, if we need to hire more people for 911, how many do we need in your office? 50, he said. And so
50 additional people. So they're saying that they're understaffed with the
totally
stress levels
understaffed,
that
and
everyone is coming
yeah,
up with.
the stress levels are super high for people working in the city, for folks living in the city in general. So health has to do with parks, availability for leisure, availability for education. We have a wonderful example with the Excelsior Science Project and BC's del Pueblo. The Science Project is on 35 San Juan, which is perpendicular with Mission there. And have a wonderful project there for after school. The BC's del Pueblo are on Excelsior at the community school, where community parents and children are able to go forth. The community well is a center on Alamany and Ocean. I'm going to be starting to do some children's music there, by the way. And
yes, let's remember to mention that you have seven
CDs.
7 CDs, and the one that you just recently did is for children.
Yeah, and I'm working on one of yoga for children, music. Well, for teenage kids. As well as another new CD of.
And how would somebody be able to reach you if they wanted to work with you on your campaign?
To reach us, there's 3 ways. One, the website, which is Francisco for Soup. So it's Francisco, the name Francisco, like San Francisco, the number 4, and then Soup, S as in Sam, U, P as in Peter, E, Supe for Spanish speakers. FranciscoForSoup.org. FranciscoForSoup.org. People can make a donation there. They can sign up to help us with precinct walking, with phone calling, and with talking with other neighbors, because that's really the issue. I've been walking through the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, talking with people in Tagalog, in Cebuano, in Spanish, in Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, in English, of course. And there is one thing that people are concerned about right now. It's the livelihood and the affordability. So I'm coining the campaign Livability.
Once again, thanks for joining the Paula Fiscal Show. My guest today was Francisco Herrera. I also would like to mention that this show is uploaded to YouTube, or you may watch it on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. So for those of you that are just joining in, you can see all the shows on YouTube, and we want you to stay informed. So once again, thanks for joining us.